Hey, what's going on, guys? We're here today with another episode of Industry Pathology, and today I want to talk about classroom credentials. So, what I mean by this, because obviously, if you're going to school trying to get your degree, you're going to get credentials or credits and then graduate, get your degree in sport or performance psychology, whatever it may be. But when I say classroom credentials, what I truly mean is how do you apply this stuff? Because a lot of times you're given research papers, homework assignments, group activities, you partner up and do mock sessions. And while that helps get you more familiarized with the content and allows you to dive in with at least another individual to have outside impact on what you're trying to do, it's all, for lack of a better word, make believe. You're not actually getting your feet wet with actual people. Now, you could take it one step further and say, well, some programs, a decent amount actually, allow you to work with their actual athletic teams or contracts they have throughout the regional area. And while this helps, it goes back to something I always talk about in other videos about how you don't actually have to hunt and gather those clients. They're simply handed to you. And I love analogies. And if you look at this like a kid who's been spoiled and given everything throughout their life, how do they typically act? They usually don't care how to go about things. If they break something or crash their car, they know daddy's going to get them a new one. And it's kind of like that. And that's not a fault of the child, just like with the student. But the difference is that's a child or a young adult. You guys are going into the workforce. And guess what? The workforce isn't hunky-dory. The real world isn't there to give you a hug and embrace you. People are getting massively laid off in general, let alone sport and performance psychology. I know at least 3 or 4 people I've heard either get budget cuts to their salary or completely let go in the last few weeks. So it's safe to say there's a scarcity in the job market and they're reducing it at the same time. So going to the point of classroom credentials, how do you fare? Because people don't like the word competition, which is so ironic given that we're in a field where we help people compete, whether it be athletically, whether it be consulting with CEOs, corporations, or military and law enforcement. There's a competitive nature to all of that. But yet when it comes to each other, and when I say competition, it's just like a sport. It's friendly competition. You don't hate the person in front of you, but guess what? You want to beat them. And that's how I look at this thing. So if you're looking at the classroom credentials, ask yourself, has your professor given you every absolute chance to thrive on the outside world beyond the textbook, beyond the homework? Because when you're given a homework assignment, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to do this. Sometimes you take it seriously. Some people don't. But regardless, it's just an ends to a mean. You do it and you're done. But in business or in a profession, regardless of which route you take, especially in this field, it's an ongoing process. And guess what? I've mentored numerous people and they kind of fall more by the other side, not the real approach of let me figure this out, let me get the know-how. Because I've mentored so many people where my phone barely rings and I'm thinking like, well, I guess you're doing this as a way to get maybe a connection, maybe a foot in the door, maybe a recommendation later down the road. Fine. But that's all you want. That's all you're going to get. When I was in that same position decades ago, everyone that mentored me, I made it my duty to get everything I could out of them. And I mean this in more of a knowledge-based sense. And guess what? It got me right where I'm sitting today. So there's something to it. If you're not utilizing these resources on the real approach, then you're letting it fall by the wayside. Now, the other opportunity that you can take with this is go out and get it yourself. There's no rule that says that you got to wait till you're in the field to figure things out. Now, granted, it'll be a level of credibility that you don't have yet because you just don't have the experience or know-how, or your client base is looking very low because you haven't worked with nobody yet. So it is a double-edged sword because people expect expertise of a certain level when you have to gain it in the first place. But that's why internships or mentorships, things that are going to get you put in the real field are so important. But that's another point. You got to put your nose down just a little bit. You haven't made it yet. I've heard people complain, oh, I need to make money, or I heard someone's charging this much. None of that matters because I'm being real with you. I do pro bono work and I'm 15 years in the field. I've done legit things. I've run a successful business to whatever it means in this, right? But that being said, nothing's ever too good for you. Now, it needs to make sense. A lot of people just don't understand how important and key this is because by proxy, I'm just accumulating experience. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, put it somewhere else or do it to a lesser degree, but don't ever throw the baby out with the bathwater because what I'm noticing is you have all these people who get their degrees, they graduate, walk over the stage, and then they get out and they come to me for a job or they come somewhere else. But I'm speaking me personally because I've had probably hundreds of applications I've looked over in the last 2-3 years. And I would say all but maybe 5 came to me with experience I could actually put somewhere. If I can't put you anywhere, especially how unique and innovative Mind Body One is and where we have to fit a certain narrative. We're not doing that typical cookie cutter stuff here. And guess what? The contractors that want us, they don't want that either. Guess what? When you work in the academic or organizational setting, when the college is just listening to what you do, and they're like, okay, you're in charge, so do what you want. Guess what? It just breeds an echo chamber of continuously doing the things that you say is right, but there's no one to challenge that because they don't care about the how. I always tell my team, they care about the what. The what is, what are we getting? The how is what you're going to do with them. Guess what? When you're in the real world, outside of the walls that keep you confined, they actually want a little bit more. That's all it is. So if you're not giving that, you're not going to get it. So all in all, these classroom credentials are needed to get the foundations, but that's all they're giving you. Guess what? You're going to be out there hunting and gathering, and another tribe's going to take all the food, all the berries, and you're going to be left with nothing. And what we call that in food terms is starve, but monetarily the same thing. And I said this at the ASP conference this year, 2025, back in February. It was a regional one, actually. I spoke at it, and I gave 7 concepts to help every mental coach. It was 20 minutes straight to the point. I went over a lot of information, gave literal things that we do here. Hands didn't go up when I said, any questions? Crickets. I said, look to your left, look to your right. In a year or two, that person next to you would not be in this field. And they looked at me like, what? They thought I was just talking to talk. That's what's going to happen to a lot of you. And no one's going to tell you this because they have incentive to say, okay, come to our school, give us 10, 20, 30, $40,000 when I'm giving you all this for free. And I'm giving stuff that actually works. So with that being said, best of luck. And thanks for tuning in. That's my pathology.